I'm EnterElysium, and welcome to Aurora 4X, the amazingly fantastic, frustratingly annoying space strategy game. We're going to be designing a cruiser today. We've got a load of our new tech ready, and I think it's now time. We have a 30,000 tonnage shipyard, god damn it, shipyard, just sitting there. I'm going to continue saying that. And I think this is basically cruiser weight. And it has 5 slipways just ready to go, so I think it's time. We won't be able to make its counterpart, the command variant, which is going to have a jump drive, just because our jump drive tech is still being researched. But if we do get that done, we might be able to make a destroyer variant that's going to fit in the 20,000 ton range. I'm undecided about whether that should be a 20,000 ton destroyer and 20,000 ton missile destroyer, or whether it should be a 20,000 ton multi-role and a 20,000 ton command variant. That way we can have smaller fleets with 20,000 ton vessels that are maybe designed to be like a quick reaction force or something, like QRF. That's something we could potentially do. The other alternative will be, everyone relies on the command ship, and you two can just be guns, or weapons of some kind. So, starting off, let's go with minimum 8 armor. That's minimum for now. I've got the compressed carbon armor. This is going to be called the Ice Lord. We are going to want to use names. Now, what was our original guided missile destroyer called? Strike cruisers. Okay, we're going to go with... I don't know how many names are in some of these lists. I know that some of them have very few, like 6 or something dumb, which means that you can't really pick them if you're going to be making more than 6 ships, because you just get repeats. We could go with something Lunar class, but that's quite specific. I don't know how many names are actually in that list. What else? Gold class. Well, we can risk it. Battleships, battle cruisers. You know what? We could go battle cruisers for this one, and then battleships for the command variant. This is going to be prefixed G2, because this is now the second tranche of proper military fleet. Obviously, we had some stuff beforehand, but in terms of actual military fleet, this is definitely our second big expansion. And then select random from list. Commander priority, we're going to knock this up to 22. And that is all looking good. Okay. What do you need? Let's start off over here. Command and control. We're going to give you auxiliary control. So if the bridge gets damaged, you're still going. Combat information center. That is basically a bonus to hit. If you can get a combat information center on board, you should probably have it, because it can massively increase your chance to hit. So we're going to get one of them. Flag bridge. No. Flag bridge it allows you to have a fleet commander who will give bonuses to the entire fleet. It's also, 250 tons. Not super chunky, but for a command base or command unit or command module, that's the one. It's fairly big, and you only need one in the fleet. That's going to be on the command ship. So, no. Main engineering allows you to repair quicker and stuff. Yes. Science department, only good for survey. So, no. That's not a bad start there. Damage control, we're going to want maybe 2 of these. And then electronic countermeasures and electronic countermeasures. We want 1 electronic countermeasure. And what that does is it basically reduces the range of enemy fire controls targeting us. The electronic countermeasure applies to any one of our fire controls and counters any countermeasures they have, if that makes sense. But they are linked to fire controls. This is just linked to the ship, so you just need 1 of these, but you need multiple of these, 1 for each fire control, if that makes sense. Because these are for attacking, they counter the enemy's defenses, and this is our defense. Engine. We're going to need to design a new engine, and that's basically the stuff that we just have to have. Yeah, that's the basics. Okay, this is going to be 30,000 tons. We're looking for a speed minimum 7,000. If possibly, if we can, I'd like to go to 8. We have a pretty powerful drive. So, with that said and done, we're going to be popping up a friend we haven't actually really used in a while. We are going to be popping up Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm looking for it now. There we go. A4X calculator.jar. So, we want our ship optimizer. Using internal confinement. We have an engine boost of like 2.5, I believe. No, we can actually pull up our tech. Have a look at this in detail. Yeah, 2.5. We're on 0.6. Maximum engine size is 100. Not that we're going to end up using that. Okay, and jump drive efficiency, we can ignore that for now. Right, desired tonnage. Our desired tonnage is 30,000. Desired speed, let's try for 8,000. And desired range, 20 billion. Okay. Not too bad. This is a huge increase in speed. We're going from, I believe, 5 with the last fleet to being able to go 8. It will take, say, like 2 million fuel. Hell, we've got 2 million fuel of some of our cargo vessels. Obviously, those cargo vessels go 5 to 10 times the distance, but whatever. And we're getting about 20,000 tons spare. So we're using about 33%. We did say we could go up to 40. If we were to, say, cut this down to 7,000, that is not cutting it down to 7,000. That's just making us ridiculous. Oh. Okay. You know what we should do? We should put a minimum number of engines. Now, I'm going to say minimum number of engines is going to be 3. I know that last time we went with 4, but with the new layout, I'm kind of thinking that if we bring up our shipyards, 1 engine per 10,000 tons. So 30,000, you get 3 engines. 20,000, you get 2 engines. It doesn't give us the same reliability as we had before, but we do have shields now. So we're going to be trading out some reliability for effectively getting more space by having more efficient engines, which means we need less fuel, less engine, etc. Blah, blah, blah. So let's try minimum engines 3. Recalculate. Okay, so going 7,000, we have about 20,500 tons. And if we want to go 8,000... Okay, it costs us another 1,000 tons to go the extra 1,000. I kind of think that's worth it. I have to admit, I think that's worth it. Might be a little bit controversial, but the speed will give us far more ability to react, make changes, decide on like new approaches and plans, and it will probably lessen our requirement to be focused on missiles quite as much, because missiles you can fire from range and it's not as much of a bother. If you are not using missiles and you're going for a beam weapon, you need to be faster than the enemy, because you need to be able to decide, am I going to catch them to shoot them, or am I gonna just stay away? Speed is more important for beam ships. It doesn't mean that beam ships are always faster. It just means they should probably prioritize speed. And I think going for the 8,000 is the right choice here. So we're looking at 354 hull size at 1.5 using 2.4 million fuel. And there are more efficient ones, but you're looking at dropping down all the way to here, which is another 100 tons or so. We could save about 50 if we wanted to go with the usage of another 500,000 fuel. Yeah, I'm actually okay with this. Save us 50 tons, and the engine is actually a nice 50 hull size, which I think is kind of a nice size, honestly. It's a very standard situation, although the extra 500,000 fuel will really add up. That's extra 25% over the fleet. Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go for that. So, engine size, we're going to go all the way to 50 hull size. And engine power, I think, is 160%. Yes. Okay, and we're getting an EP of 1,600. Which is what we expected. So, with that done, whack on a company name, Blake Strain. Internal fusion drive. Oh, I called it an internal confinement fusion drive somewhere else, didn't I? Yeah, here. We'll change the name of that. I thought it was an IFD. And then we will cut you. We're going to record the EP, which is fuel per EP hour. And this is actually almost 1. It's actually 869 milli. But getting close. And then the mass, of course, is 250 tons, 2.5 kilotons by Blake Strain. And we will instantiate that. We've been instantiated. I'm actually going to rename this component and get rid of that C. Unnecessary. Right. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Look at that speed. Oh. That is a fast ship. Okay. Right. From here on, we need to decide a few things about weaponry. I think we're still going to have missiles on this vessel. So let's have a quick pop down to our missile launchers. I don't know if we have better tech for them yet. We haven't really prioritized the tech on the missiles because after a certain point, the returns are less important. I think reload rate is still the same, right? Let's go with a size 6 and see. Yep, that looks about the same. 490 seconds and 120 tons. Yeah, missile launcher has not changed. We do have some changes coming, some queued up tech, but now one of the things we might want to do is devise ourselves some anti-missile missiles. And it wouldn't be the worst plan to put them on this vessel because it already has a cargo bay and everything for that. It'll have a magazine. Downside is it does mean partitioning the magazine and having to fiddle with that. And honestly, we can probably just deal with that on the command ship. So I think we will just go with this being a pure offensive vessel. Maybe with lasers that can double as point defense, but it's pure offensive. So we'll just add our existing missile launchers, which Von Cryo and Lorelei Armaments Company have been doing pretty well out of. And we'll go for a 24. That's what the old missile destroyer had, right? Guided missile destroyer. It's under D for destroyer. No? Missile destroyer. Right, it's under M for missile destroyer, but the prefix is DDG. And you had 2 magazines, 24 missile launchers. There we go. Sure. Okay, well, one thing we can design right now that we know basically what we're going to have is shields. Currently, we're on Delta shields, which is kind of like a decent start. You could start on Gamma. I really think Delta is the way to start with shields. Before that, less worried about it. Max generator size, because that gives you the most shield for your buck. You get an extra like 41.4%. Gonna take longer to recharge, but that's gonna be 1,000 tons. And I'm planning to basically put 2 of these on the vessel. When we get Epsilon shields, we can change them out later. It's gonna cost us Corbomite, where Corbomite is basically a shield-only thing, so this is actually fine. Like, it tells us how many shield strength and how long it will take to recharge completely. We don't need any more information. The only thing I add, which is, you know, for my personal preference, is M1 KT, just so I can know at a glance it's mass 1 kiloton. The overlay will actually tell you that if you like to select. And I'm going to just change the formatting around a little bit, get rid of all of these extra spaces. Some of these have like double spacing, which I find so weird. So, but the actual information in there is pretty solid. We'll refresh tech again. Go to shields. And I'm actually going to dump 2 of these on. That'll give us 142 shield points. And it does increase the recharge time because each one is recharging independently. So multiple small shields will recharge your overall shield amount much faster, but obviously they take up a lot more space and is less efficient. Whereas we now have pretty decent 142 points of shield, which will intercept anything coming at us. Missiles, machine gun fire, lasers, whatever. So that's pretty nice. Right. That's 2,000 tons. So half our tonnage already, but everything from now on is basically weapons and the power for those weapons. So Oh, and the fire controls those weapons. And, I guess, sensors. Okay, so we should do sensors, I guess. Then we know everything is weapons. Sensors aren't going to be huge on this. Let's design tech. And we will go for resolution of 5. Kind of an all-rounder. Yeah. Electronic hardening. We don't have any tech for that. It's a search sensor. Yes, that's fine. And then what range are we looking for? I think we'll look for something in the region of 50,000. Sorry, 50 million? 51 million, really. We could just say 100 tons. But these are never really going to operate by themselves. I guess we would like the option of them able to operate by themselves in places with jump gates. But are they ever realistically going to do that? Probably not. We can maybe save some space here. And obviously this is a, it's an exponential, like, curve in terms of how much you need to put in to get an increase. So a 50-ton sensor has a range of 34, whereas a 100-ton sensor only has a range of 48. It doesn't double. It's, I think, root 2 based. So it's less and less worth throwing something in. If our command ship can cover it, that's fine. We might want one that can cover, like, the most of our missile range. So because they are going to have a long missile range, I think maybe going the 100-ton sensor is the right choice. And we'll have a company name, Kruber Electronics, responsible for the Cuba crisis. So let's treat them with a little bit of suspicion. I will put a /E8 here, and that's going to be EM sensor tech level, because EM sensor tech level will actually change the range as well, not just our grav sensor strength. So the range is million, and then we're not going to do this based on hull size. We'll do it based on tonnage, because that's dumb. And your mass is 100 tons. Instant. Okay. And then we will fresh tech and plonk you on. Now, I tend to feel that you need a backup sensor, but is it hugely necessary? Let's see. How low can we go with the sensor? Yeah, this still gives us a range able to shoot ones really close by. And even if we, like, chuck down the resolution so we can make sure, hey, just in case there's, like, a FAC or something nearby. This is probably worth doing. It's 5 tons. Crew is 0. I think it's rounding to 0, but it actually has a point something cost in terms of crew. Like, someone has to spend some of their time looking at it, but not dedicated crew person. So I think this is fine. It gives us a useful ability. We could go all the way down and say, hey, we can use this against missiles or something. But I have a hard time really thinking this is going to be worthwhile. The missile fire control that we'd need for an anti-missile, lock on would be annoying. So we're just going to stick with the classic... which one was it? The resolution against facts, and we will call this a ASS 21/E8 6 million, resolution 1 KT, mass 5 tons, and company name DeWitt. Yeah, they were slightly responsible for the Cuba crisis, so we'll instant that out as well. That gives them a backup, just in case they have no one around who has a active search sensor. Because you need an active search sensor to fire, it just has to be in the fleet. So, is this necessary? Well, no, they're probably going to have other ones in the fleet, even if theirs gets taken out. But, it's 5 tons at the end of the day. 2.1 iridium. Okay, the next stage, I guess, would be to put in a missile fire control. We have the missile tubes. It would probably be missile fire control and a magazine. Missile fire control depends on the type of missiles we're going to be firing. Funny that. Now, our missile tech actually hasn't advanced hugely. Our engine tech has, which is going to affect it. But I believe we had, magazine tech, missile tech, all queued up. It wasn't even going to be, like, particularly long. Some of these. Oh, well. That's going to be after the Gauss cannon fire rate, which is a while away. So let's actually just build ourselves some missiles. And I think we'll do what we did before. We'll have the katana and the wakizashi, because that worked really well for us. Having a deliberately designed short-range, defense-penetrating missile that can get past interception, and then having a longer-range variant, which is kind of the standoff weapon. So let us bring up you and go to, I guess, Missile Planner. What are we doing? We're still using fusion-boosted fission. Ugh, we're behind. We are missile agility 32. We're now up to infernal confinement fusion. Yes, we put everything in hell to power stuff. Max engine boost is 2.5. We do have ECM, and that's something we might want to consider. And we're probably going to put active sensors on these, so... Okay, that's all looking pretty standard. Right, let's say we want a size 6 missile. Our desired range is going to be 70. And the missile strength in the warhead is going to be 9. Again, we want a nice square number. And anything bigger is going to be way too much for us to handle. I think this is good. Not a massive increase in speed, but certainly respectable. We're now getting to a stage where we can reliably hit 5k targets. 10k, we're still below that, 50%, which is what I kind of want. We could maybe drop the range. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. The results aren't appreciably different. Yeah. That's probably the way to go. The other choices are we could make a swarm missile. I don't think we're there yet because we would probably need a better warhead tech. But you could make a missile that's 6 size and then, 2 of that is engine and fuel. And when it gets close enough, it splits into 4. And those 4 are just tiny little pelter missiles that are just going to do like 1 or 2 damage. It's good for saturating missile defense, but it's honestly not that great in terms of everything else because it's not going to do much damage if it does get past. And you might say, oh, you can try and overload enemy missile defenses, and then they run out of anti-missile weapons. Not many of the enemy use anti-missile weapons that are missiles, anti-missile missiles. And if they do, they're precursors, and precursors have loads of them sitting on the planets they defend, so they don't run out. So we'll just stick to a much more simple plan. We could put ECM on. Ooh, that does cut in quite a lot. Yeah, we're seeing like a 7 or 8% drop. How much is EM sensor size? I think it's like 0.25 or something. I think we'll wait until we put EM on. I don't know when we'll wait until. Probably 2 or 3. We'll consider it again at 2. But for now, ECM 10 is not good enough. Right. That's basically fine. I don't think there's anything we want to adjust here. This is one of the quicker missiles we've made. Sure. Any appreciable difference if we pick any of the others? Not really. Right. We will go with load the katana. That's the same. Fuel capacity. That has changed. Because, of course, the engine's changed. Agility. Exactly the same. Engine power. Engine power 10. Am I reading the right thing here? Oh, here we go. Power boost. That's just the EP. Power boost. 340. Nowhere near max power. And 2.94. So So the actual engine gets slightly smaller in exchange for fuel. Okay, yeah, we're seeing the good results we're looking for. This is the Katana 2 ASM 6. I'm going to put a hyphen in there. I just prefer it with a hyphen. And it's a 9/70 million by... And let's see if we're tendering this out to a different company. Iron Hand Ordnance. Okay. Very well. We will instantiate you. And then the Wakizashi. Now, this one, we're going to go hell for leather. Go full-on short range. What was the range of the Wakizashi originally? Like, it's hard to tell because this is going to say the range is something completely different. It was 10 million. I put it in the name. I was like, oh yeah, I have it in the name for a reason. The range with our new tech for engines is almost double that. So, but yes, I agree. 10 million. Let's see what we get. That's a lot better. That speed is very nice. 48,000. And that's because we've got a much higher top-end acceleration. Are you saying go 500%? You are. Fantastic. We're going full inefficiency on this engine. Just burn all the fuel. My only wonder is if we cut this down to like 6, could we do much faster? In fact, it's recommending less fast. Okay. What if we add ECM? Let's look at the 10. It's currently 72 with ECM. Yeah, it does drop by 7%. Yeah, we want it to be just pretty simple and sleek to make right now. I think this is the right call. So it's going to be the same setup as before. Fuel is going to change. The copy-paste functionality here is incredibly helpful. And then the engine itself is going to be a full-on 500%. Now we can get much higher on that. And we're looking at a bigger engine as well. 0.89. There we go. And then this is the Is it Wakizashi or Wakizashi? Because I made this mistake last time, so I'm going to double check. Z, right? Wakizashi? Yeah. Okay, so I did rename it. Wakizashi 3. And this is an ASM 6 9 slash... What's the actual range we get on this? 10. Okay, 10 million. Stota Lycan. Right. We'll instantiate you as well. So we know what range we're going for on our missiles. We're going for a 70 million range. Maybe a little bit more on the fire control just in case it's ECM, but that is what we're going to be going for. So let's design a new tech. Missile fire control. And then resolution. We can make the resolution a little bit bigger, but then we'll bring that down if it gets a bit much. Okay, so a 50-ton is fine. We're already seeing that the 50-ton is perfectly good for what we need. If we want to bring that up, 70-ton will give us space for like enemy ECM. Enemy ECM will reduce our fire control range on missile fire controls. We could potentially go all the way up to like, 108,000 if we... 108 million if we really cared, but probably not necessary. So let's bring the resolution down since we're finding that's quite easy to do. Yeah. Even at a 5,000 ton resolution, that is overkill in terms of range. So we'll bring that down even further. That means with VCM2, they'll still be firing at normal missile range. 80 tons? Sure. We'll go an 80-ton fire control. I could bring it down a little bit. Yeah, let's go with 80 tons. That was 75 maybe? Yeah, let's go 75. Call it fair. I also like 75 more because it's a, multiple of 50. Right. Let's company name up. Jeffries Kruber. Wow, weird pairing. This is going to be a MFC 21/E8. Fire control rated for 83 million at resolution 5 KT, mass of 75 tons by Jeffries Kruber. And that is good. We'll instantiate it. Oop. You know what? We'll add another backup sensor. Because at the end of the day, it's 5 tons. Jeffries Kruber. Missile fire control. 1, 2, 3. That way we've got one for each of the 8s. And if we lose one of them, well, we can double up. It's fine. Now, magazines. And we haven't actually used that much space yet. Magazines. We're probably going to have to run a similar setup to last time, so I'm going to be bringing up our calc here. We would like to fire, say, 7 volleys, keep 1 in the tube, or we could maybe go with 6 volleys and 1 in the tube. We'll go with 7 volleys, 1 in the tube, so discount the tubes. 7 times our size 6 times 24. So it's our 24, which is the number of tubes, times 6, which is the size of the missiles, times 7, which is the number of volleys we want to be able to replace. 1008. That seems to match with what we had last time. If I remember last time, we had like 1 volley less, so that seems to be about the right ballpark. If we design tech, go to our magazine. Why did I take so long to find magazine? It was filed under M, like it was just there. Right. Magazine. Extra HK, we probably want that. So let's go with the magazine size. 200, and we'll scale down from there. We only need 1008, and we might well want to have 2 magazines in case we get hit, so that might be a bit much. If we bring it down to having 1 magazine, we're looking at, 3.2 kilotons. If we bring it all the way down to, say, 504, is half what we need. Now 1.6 kilotons, yeah. So let's scale this up a little bit and then add the extra hits to kill, because we don't want this thing exploding at the drop of a hat. That would be exactly it. HTK of 14 with the 504. What if I make the magazine a little bit bigger and then keep going? Oh, that's the maximum HTK. I'm kind of okay with this. Like, I don't want the magazine just exploding. And obviously, explosion chance is limited, and our efficiency chance is like 80% of neutralizing it before it explodes. I think I don't know the exact formula behind explosion chance. I think that's anytime it's hit, there is a chance it explodes. But anytime it's destroyed, it's 80% chance to neutralize. But I'm not certain on that. Either way, I like having our hugely explosive magazine with a HTK of 14. Because that means if we take, say, 4 damage, 4 out of 14 chance to explode. If it takes 3 damage, 3 out of 14, So if we were, not using plus 10 HTK and it was 4 to kill and it got hit by a 4 damage weapon, that would certainly explode. And I don't want that. Well, be destroyed. And the chance of it exploding is then 80%, if that makes sense. The savings are not that much. Like, if we go down, we're looking at saving 150 tons. I would much rather have the survivability of our magazine. Now, in theory, when we close with the enemy, our magazines should be lighter, but there's no being certain of that. So the backup redundancy, 150 tons per magazine, 300 tons in total, I think it's very much worth it. We'll add a company name. Day Weapon Systems. Okay, so this is a... I don't really care about the explosive chance there. This is a capacity 504 magazine, which is 7624. I guess the only important thing, well, divided by 2. I guess the most important thing is like how many sixes is that? So let's just say this is 84. 84 size 6s, so I guess, do we want to like add that? That's 84 size 6s. Brackets 84 times 6. What else do you need? It is an 80 efficiency neutralization chance. CCA. CCA like that. Compressed carbon armor. And the HDK is 14 with a plus 10. I guess that's unimportant. I guess the only thing we'll need to know is like the mass, which is 1.75 kilotons by Day Weapon Systems. Instant. Fresh tech. Magazine. 1, 2. And we've still got 10,000 tons to play around with. And, you know, obviously you could say, well, why don't you just make more missile launchers? You'd be unstoppable. Yes, but it wouldn't be fun. Overwhelming enemies with a huge volley of missiles is just not as fun and is just a surefire way to win. Missiles are completely overpowered despite what the dev says. So, no, we won't be doing that. I'm actually going to flag Senior CO on this ship. It's a cruiser. It deserves it. Right. At this point, I think laser weapons, potentially, we could add some other things. I'm thinking we add a small thermal sensor. The command ship will have a bigger variant, but for now, small thermal sensor and a small EM sensor as well. So let's just quickly add an EM sensor. This is going to be a size 1. That's fine. And company name, Kruber. Wow, Kruber are really getting around with that tech right now. I'm just going to put down... Well, you can know the mass is 5 on this. You see EM 1.0. 1.0 is the hull size. But for my benefit, I'm going to put down its 50-ton sensor. You know what? Sod it. This is simple enough. There's no electronic hardening, is there? Yeah, we really should get some of that at some point. Not that we've encountered the enemy who used that stuff, despite the fact they're on in the game. I don't know where they are. EM sensor. Done. Okay. Potentially we could add another shield. Say, hey, same number of engines as shields. 1 per 10,000 tons. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to put another shield on. You can't stop me. It's 1,000 tons for pretty decent level of protection. Armor, I think we're going to up that to 10 now. Maybe even go to 12. That seems reasonable. And then we've got 8,000 tons to play with still. So this is where we're going to come into lasers and particle beams. So if we have a look at our tech, how are we doing with particle beams? Particle beams don't lose damage over range, but their splash pattern of damage is not particularly penetrating, unlike lasers. The variant of them, lances, that's pure straight damage in a line inwards. It's great. Particle beams themselves are kind of though. Apart from the no damage drop off. Right now, the range on them is kind of fine. We could use this. Our capacitor fire rate chance. Not fire rate chance. You know what I'm on about. Recharge rate. That's the one. It's pretty fast. Like, this is firing every 15 seconds, which is pretty rare. It is only doing strength 6 damage. And this is where I'm like, yeah, particle beams, you're just not good. Lances are, because they're a penetrating profile, like they'll go through armor quite nicely. And they have a pretty good counter, shields. because they're still low damage. It's just very well placed damage. These are worse placed damage than lasers. They have a worse penetrating profile, and although they don't have drop off, we're still only doing 6 damage at that range. If we go and compare that to like a laser, use our max size, we still have a better fire rate. The range is double. The weight is less. The damage is almost twice. And that, of course, will reduce over range. But that's fine. Because at half range, you'll be doing this damage. And fun enough, half range is also where the particle beam was doing 6. So not only is this firing faster, doing more damage, but it also has a higher range at which it can be fired and weighs less. Maybe it's got a difference in like crew, 18 crew. I don't think it does, but we're going to check it. 24 crew. Nope, the laser's better in every way. That is because our particle beam tech is slightly behind, but not hugely. The downside of Aurora's weapon system is, honestly, lasers are just better than every other beam weapon, with the exception of certain tasks. Particle lances. That's it. Particle lances have their use. Everything else is subjective, worse than lasers. Railguns can't be turreted, which means they can't have a tracking speed like lasers can from the turret. Gauze, terrible attacking weapon. Very good at shooting down missiles, but other than that, And then everything else is kind of more niche, and you can use them. It's just, they're just not going to be as effective as lasers. So, I can misclick. We're going to start pumping out some laser weapons. Now, this is good. 10 damage for every 10 seconds is pretty reliable. If we decrease the size, we'd have to go down to 4 every 5 seconds. So that is objectively just better. Admittedly, it is smaller, though. Yeah, can we get the capacitor less on this? Yeah, so we can actually make the capacitor smaller on this, which saves us a bit of cost, and also we need a smaller power plant. I think what we'll do is we'll have 2 different sizes, obviously. We also have a spinal mount. Now, spinal mounts allow you to have one size up in all techs on the laser, but it cannot be turreted, and you can only have 1 per vessel. Now, there is a bug at the moment, which means you can place infinite per vessel. I will try and keep to the spirit of the game, where I think it's sensible. And in this case, you're meant to have just 1 spinal. And this will allow us to go from that to that. 16 damage, but every 20 seconds. The range is now 800,000. Oh, God, wow. That's a lot. Yeah. Again, you might say, well, you know, you're doing more damage, but the time has doubled. Yes, but also shock damage is a thing. If you do a lot of damage at once to an enemy, they will take shock damage, which is great because it just bypasses everything. So, yes, I think we will have one of these on every vessel. So, we should start renaming things. This is Distelia Blake. You know, I don't think actually I'm playing Distelia Blake currently in the Discord. Ow. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to do this manually. I just accidentally instanted it. Refresh tech. Laser. Where is my laser? Laser, 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 laser. We're going to rename you. Rename component. You are... I honestly think... ultraviolet laser. A Fuvel. C5. Oh, actually, we should put Spinal in front, because that's the most important part. You can only have one of them. They can't be turreted. Spinal, Fuvel, C5. D16. Rate. 16 over 20 just makes sense, you know? 16 damage every 20 seconds. It's like the DPS. 16 over 20. I don't even need the D, really. 16 over 20 at 800k. I think that does deserve a range in there. And it is mass 400 tons. Okay, that's everything we need to know. And, oh, company name. Okay, apparently can't do company name. Galnum Devarin. Sure, we'll go with that. I don't know if anyone's actually using them either, but we'll rename component, add a hyphen at the end, chuck that on. And then you're getting one of them. Now, obviously, it needs a beam fire control. It needs a reactor. That's all fine and dandy. We'll get to that in a bit. So, because we're actually going to have a pretty good turn of speed, we don't necessarily need to turret all of our big weapons. I think what we'll do is we'll turret any of our smaller weapons that can be used to maybe shoot down missiles, but our big weapons, we won't bother. So let's switch out of Spinal mount over here. And probably all good with this. I don't think... changing the capacitor to make it easier on us will actually reduce the fire rate. This is good. This is, by the way, far beyond our beam fire control. Like, our beam fire control is never going to be able to hit this, let alone the Spinal. You might say, well, why don't you just reduce the ultraviolet, reduce the cost, etc. Doesn't reduce the crew requirement or the energy, but, reduce the cost. Simply because of a few reasons. Firstly, I like the fire ultraviolet. It sounds nicer, basically. But also because damage drop-off. If we're firing at half our range, because that's what our beam fire control will do, we'll be doing basically full damage. Damage drop-off is only towards the end of the laser. So having extra range is just extra damage, right? It's fine. So we'll record this. We'll add a company name. Reynolds Haley Armaments Company. Ooh, nice name. And you are a far ultraviolet laser. C5. And you are 10. 10. Which I think is quite reasonable. At range 500k with a mass of 300t. Instant. Okay. And then we'll refresh tech. We won't put you in a turret. You don't really need it. Bum 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 bum. Where's lasers? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a pretty impressive armament. I mean, obviously there could be more. We might consider adding more, but I want to try and get on to actually having some turreted lasers that can help with a little bit of missile defense if necessary. They don't need to be the main armament by any means, but having something is always nice. So we're going to drop down to... There's no point going for 10 centimeters when we can go 12. We'll get extra damage. Doesn't require much beyond, maybe a little bit more power, etc. We could reduce our capacitor rate here as well. 4. Obviously, if we go down here, we can drop that to 3. 200 tons. Ooh, that said, if we go down to our minimum... Oh, we get extra range, though. Do we need the extra range? If we go down to our minimum... Quite frankly, the extra saving on tonnage... The extra saving on energy for the capacitor... might be worth it. That said, I am concerned about losing that range. I think we'll just accept that this is going to be a little bit more expensive. And then this will be as a company name, Void Singer Armaments. Ooh, they're branching out. FUV LC, and this is not 5. This is 4. 4, 5, range 200k, mass 200t. What's it on? Okay. Now, this we're not going to bolt to the hull. We're going to turn this into a turret, so we're instantly going to go into turret design. And then probably go all the way to quad. Max out the tracking speed. And then no armor. Now, because of the hit to kill thing, which I kind of misunderstood to begin with, honestly, I don't think the armor's worth it. Like, maybe a tiny bit might be, just because our armor is actually really good now. But once you're getting penetrating hits internally inside the actual outer armor, it's going to be less important. Especially because it adds, you know, that's 100 tons for an extra 8 hit to kill. That's a reasonable amount, but if we were going to, like, here, I feel it's starting to get unnecessary. It is 1 extra HDK, because we're on quad. If we were single, you know, we're starting at 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas if we're on quad, each one is adding 4, which is a lot better. It's obviously more mass, but you get a huge saving because you're using everything in a smaller area. You've got 4 weapons in a tiny, tiny little gun. I mean, not that tiny. It is 1,000 tons, but you get the idea. Do we want to add a little bit of armor? Just a tad. Like, that would cost us like 70 tons of armor. I think it's worth adding a little bit. Even just bring it to 12. And that only costs like 30 tons. Yeah, I think we'll add 1 layer of armor. Just because that brings the HDK to 12, which for a pretty large investment in a quad turret is worthwhile. And this will be... forward-facing armaments, yes, it'll still be the same name. Quad. And then... times 4. We'll change the capacitor to read just 16, because that's what it is. And then the mass is 1.1 kilotons, effectively, as close as needs be. Yes, I'm only doing 2 significant figures. I know, it's terrible. And then tracking speed, which is the highly important one here, is 20k. Do I want to include a mention of the HTK in this? Probably not. I think, like, that's good. We won't make a variant for HTK. The information here is what we could potentially make variants on, or stuff we need to know. So we will instant that, and then fresh tech. And then quad, 1, 2, 3. We could risk adding a 4th. I don't think it's going to be worthwhile because we need the beam fire controls to be able to really make do. So, that's then done. Let's make some beam fire controls. We also need reactors, so yeah, that's going to be a thing. Beam fire controls are the first ones we'll do because they're easy, because we know the ranges on our missiles are beams. It's in the name, beam fire control. Tracking speed. We want that to be about 8,000 because our vessel is going to go at 8,000. So let's try and get the tracking speed up. We're going to have to use 0.7. Yeah, that gives us the tracking speed of 8.5. If we use 0.6, we get exactly 8,000. Yeah, we use 0.6. Range, well, we already know what we're going to do this. It's going to be maxed. And notice that that's half, as I mentioned, the 500,000, which is our standard large laser. It's not even touching what our Spinal can do. Yes, the Spinal does kind of suffer. Its range is much less necessary. However, the extra damage and the shock value is pretty good. So this is going to be able to fire both the main lasers and the Spinal laser. This is good. Doesn't need anything else. No electronic hardening to be had. We'll get a company name up. Void-Seeing Electronics. Void-Seeing Crew, we're really making out this episode. And this is a beam fighter control. Anything we need to add? Not really. Mass 160 tons. Yeah, as always. Done. And we will instant you. Okay. That does us for all of our beam weapons except the turrets. So the turrets, again, this is quite simple. We crank the tracking speed up to max. Perfect. The range, however, the range doesn't need to be quite that much. Range needs to be 200,000. And funnily enough, that's 256. We could bring it down, but a bit of extra range helps against countermeasures, as we mentioned before. The next step down from 4 is 3, and that's not enough. I honestly feel that we're probably better off staying with 4, even though it is an extra 100 tons. Like, that's the issue. When you have a 4x4x, they can get pretty chunky. That's the downside of putting a little bit of, what's it called? Anti-missile defense on a ship. because you're still paying for the fire control. Then mass 400 tons. And the company name is Blake and Body Alice Electronics Industries. We'll instant that as well. Fresh tech. We will get 1 for the turrets. And we'll get 2 for the weapons. We still have a bit of room, but that's going to need for power supply. We might need to get rid of one of the quads here. Oh, yeah, we need fuel and maintenance. Oh, dear. Yeah, we're going to get rid of one of the quads easily. Yeah, fuel and maintenance. Whoops, that's important. Right. We did have a read on how much fuel we needed, which I can actually start adding in. We'll get rid of that fuel and we'll start from scratch. We're looking at 2 very larges, 3 larges. Well, we'll just use larges for this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I believe each very large is made up of 4 as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. And we're overweight. And we need to put maintenance and reactors in. Okay. Deployment time. We're going to go with 1.5 years. Armor rating could maybe come down. We could save a little bit there, but it's not a huge decrease, honestly, because our armor's pretty light now. Let's go through and do a load of maintenance stuff. I'm just going to do this kind of in a cut, because you don't need to see me playing back and forth with the maintenance amounts. Okay, I've got 10 engineering spaces and 14 maintenance storage bays. I could use larger ones, but this is to kind of protect against battle damage. It will be slightly more costly, but it doesn't cost any more in space. The efficiency of the design would say to go with more engineering spaces. We could probably save about 50 to 100 tons. However, in battle, you use a lot more maintenance supplies, so I want to kind of go a little bit extra. We have more maintenance life than we really need, so we could maybe get rid of like a little bit here. And that would be as far down as I'm willing to really go. Yeah. Maybe not even that far. Give us another engineering space back. Yeah, that would be as far as I'm willing to go. 11 engineering spaces, 12 maintenance storage bases. The deployment time is 18 months. We've got longer than that on the maintenance life, but that's because in combat we'll use our maintenance supplies. We need to do reactors. We are substantially over our weight limit. That is something we'll need to work out. We might need to get rid of the spinal mount. It is 400 tons, and yeah, sure, you might be like, well, 400 tons isn't much. It's going to use up more than you think. The reactor's going to be the bit, yeah. I've stripped off the quad turrets entirely. We might see about adding them back on in like the final stages, but for now, the quad turrets are gone. They're just very large, and it's either like take an entire shield generator away or take one of the quad turrets away, which by taking them all away allows us to take that beam fire control away, which is also 400 tons, so it does save a little bit. I've also got rid of one of the missile fire controls. We're down to 2 now. By the time we're closing to take battle damage, we probably have exhausted our missile supply, so having spare fire controls is less important. So we have 2. We've got 1 spare. Lots of time to repair it, obviously, for a distance. Hopefully. Let's do our power. So, power plant. Tokamak. We currently have 1 made, don't we? The rating 18. 16. I don't know why I said 18. Yeah, that won't cut it. We need something for our C5s, so we're probably going to be working to a different, like, format. 15.4. That'll do 3 of them. The other 3 will be another one. We could just go all in and be like, hey, 1 reactor. If it goes offline, we're screwed. The saving isn't enough to make that worthwhile. We're going to go with a 15 power reactor. And we'll call this mass 78 tons by Ram Tam Tam Dracos Engines Limited. Done. And we'll instant that out. We saved 2 tons. Yeah, we don't need quite that much power on that last one. Oh, we do need to save some. Like, we could go down to... we could go down to 10 armor. I don't necessarily want to do that. We do have a lot of shield now, so it's something we could potentially do. We could lose a damage control. If we lose the damage control and we lose a little bit else somewhere, we can make this work. Right, let's look at that tokamak fusion reactor. This one needs to just be like 5 power. And you are mass 37 tons. This one is going to drive the main lance weapon. It's not a lance, it's a spinal weapon. This spinal weapon, eventually I'm hoping we can replace it with an advanced spinal weapon. Those are 2 tech tiers up in everything. So we'd get truly great damage and range that we would never be able to use. We will instant you out. Oh, we need a company. Lycan and Turin. We'll instant that. Okay, everything's good except for the weight. The weight is over. We need to shed almost 200 tons, which I'm kind of sad we already lost some of our most important assets. I was hoping we could get those turrets going. We could potentially cut down on launchers. I'm thinking if we cut down on launchers, that might help. Obviously, it means we'll need to refactor the cargo bays, but... not the cargo bays, sorry, the magazine. Launchers aren't that heavy in themselves, but the bay that comes with them to store the missiles... Yeah, we would be saving probably a turret's worth of space. And quite honestly, I don't want to be doing massed wave of missiles every time to try and kill people. You know what? This is probably fine. And the reason is... we have these smaller 20,000 tonners. We can make these multi-role, you know, quad laser platforms or something. This can be our guided missile cruiser. Missile cruiser, is that an actual designation? Probably is. Missile destroyer, missile frigate, missile cruiser. Okay, the Ice Lord is our missile cruiser. It does have a pretty decent set of weapons that aren't missile related. Bear that in mind. It isn't just a missile cruiser, but its primary function is as a missile cruiser. We will still need to shed some weight, though. We already got rid of 1 damage control. I don't know if I want to get rid of any more. We could drop, like, a layer of armor, considering we're now designating you a missile cruiser. And that would give us some space. We could get rid of... we could get rid of the passive sensors, honestly. Someone else in the fleet probably has them. If we drop down to 11, you do have shields. I think 11 is probably acceptable. It's a little bit iffy for a cruiser. And then with the spare space, what do I want to do? Could add back in that other missile fire control. Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. The maintenance life on this thing is actually getting quite high. We could potentially, with not much cost, go for like a 2-year tour if we really wanted. I think I'm going to still keep it at 1.5 though. Oh no. Oh no, here's an idea. We can resupply. We've got a resupply vessel being made. We can't change deployment time. That requires people to get shore leave. And obviously that requires somewhere to go that has a shore. In inverted commas. You can do it with recreational facilities, but they're like big station type objects. We don't need maintenance life. We could potentially keep this high and drop some of the extra maintenance cost. And you know that whole I mentioned after battle, we probably need more maintenance supplies, etc. That's probably not as much of an issue as I'm talking about. Yep, and with that, managed to get back our 12 armor by going down to 10 engineering spaces, 8 maintenance, because, quite honestly, we can resupply the maintenance. The deployment time actually matches the maintenance life now, but the idea is that we would be able to replace those with our resupply ships after battle. Just means that we'll need to be aware of our auxiliaries going forwards. That's not a problem. We'll fill in the remainder with probably like a little bit of extra fuel, because that's never really a bad idea. So we'll add in a couple of smalls, and then 1, 2, 3. Perfect. We have a 30,000-ton Ice Lord class missile cruiser, our Gen 2 version of our military fleet. It has a pretty standard, it's the same missile launchers as last time, 24 of them, the same as our destroyer. But unlike the destroyer, let's actually bring the destroyer up for comparison. That's under missile destroyer, right below it. Okay. The missile destroyer had 4 damage 6 lasers and 2 turrets for quick tracking speed. I was thinking. I'm gonna miss those. Admittedly, those were twins, so... Oh, there weren't any redundancies in beam fire controls now. I am missing the fact that there is absolutely no way to shoot down missiles in this craft, because even one quad turret... You know what? I might have a play around and see what I can work up. So I had a bit of a play around, and by removing 2 of the main lasers and getting a quad in, and then removing one of the shield generators, so we're down to 2 rather than 3, and obviously changing a bit of the power plant around and adding the beam fire control, can get it in with a little bit of spare room to maneuver. But at the end of the day, a laser like this is only a stopgap for fighting missiles. If we want an anti-missile weapon, we'd add a Gauss turret. If we wanted a way to defeat ships, we wouldn't really be using a very close-range weapon like this. Honestly, we're probably better off just running it as pure. As much as it pains me to say it, we'll run the pure Ice Lord and we'll forget about, the copy. I'm going to just delete this. It was a valiant attempt to make this work, but the Ice Lord is probably better kept as a pure brawler, either at range or in. It's already doing 2 roles, being a laser weapon beam ship and also being a missile platform. I don't think we need to split it into being a 3rd role of an anti-missile defender. That's just a bit too much. It is completely lacking ECM. Well, ECCM. The ability to hit. Just not benefiting from those countermeasures. I could add them. There are 150 tons each. I don't think we want to. You need to add them to every fire control. Missile fire control, not necessary. We overspec the range, so that's not a problem. We could add them to the beams. But we already got a bonus to hit from the Combat Information Center. I don't want to try and figure out how to get an extra 300 tons in here. That would probably be a fair bit of juggling. So this is good. The Ice Lord is good. Using the same sort of template, we're going to very quickly do one of the 20,000s. And this 20,000, we already know what it's going to be. It's a point defense ship. Straight out. It will have probably a Gauss cannon and maybe even some lasers that can double as point defense lasers so that it can do hitting and also defending. Admittedly, very short range, but it will do so. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to grab the Professor. That sounds like a more reserved, careful one. And you are is there a name for a point defense destroyer or something? Point defense base. No. Protected cruiser. No. Let's see what variants of destroyer they have. Destroyer escort. Yes. That'll do. So, we already know what we're doing with this one. It's 20,000 tons, which means it gets 2 of our engines. So we'll plonk 1, 2 in. We then know that you're going to get an armor of probably 10. You will get a thermal sensor. You'll get 2 shields. We will chuck on a couple of those quad turrets. We'll make sure you have a tracking for that. We've also got to design ourselves a Gauss weapon. I don't believe we have one at the moment, so let's just double check. Have we got any Gauss? Rate fire 4, range 10. Is that our current best tech? No, we've got better than that. Okay, we're going to obsolete you. Right. Company name. Blake Vandermeer. Right, Gauss Cannon. Yeah, literally, like, this is ridiculous. It doesn't correspond to anything, really. You are 4 over 5. You fire 4 shots every 5 seconds. Your range is 20k. And your mass is 300 tons. Then turret design. Straight in. Quad. No messing around here. And we'll add probably like 1 turret armor strength to bring that up. Does that cost us a lot? Costs us about 40 tons. 41 tons. Sure. So this is going to be 4 times 4. Actually, let's just call that 16. Because that's not damage, that's number of shots. This is now 16 shots. And the mass is going to go up to 1.65 kT. And the tracking speed is going to be 20k. Okay. Fresh tech. And Gauss Cannon. Here we go. 1, 2. Could maybe get more in. We still need sensors and stuff, so probably shouldn't go a little bit over top. Hell, we could even just say get rid of the laser turret entirely. Give it like an actual offensive laser just in case it needs to actually fight. And, you know, call it a good one. It still needs energy and stuff as well. We'll add on some basic sensors. This is an escort. It will need anti-missile sensors, so let's do that right now. Resolution all the way down. And then currently it can see a size 6 missile at... Oof, that's pretty short range. I'd like to see the size 6 missile coming at about 1 million, ideally. 125 tons. Yeah, that's acceptable. This is going to be an ASS 21/E8. And this range is completely bogus. It's going to be 1.04, so 1 million. And the range, not the range, the size 6, and mass is 125 tons. And then we need a company. Ram Tam Tam. Okay. Fresh tech. We'll get that in, and I think we're then going to give you this more short-range DeWitt sensor. It's 5 tons. We'll also probably want to give you a backup just in case that one's taken out. You are a point defense ship. If your, sensor for detecting that's taken out and you don't know anyone else in the group to help, you're kind of done for. So I think that's kind of required. Maintenance and stuff, I want to do that real quick. I'll also add in a bit of fuel. We don't need the range on this, do we? We've got the range maxed out. If we get rid of our lasers, the Gauss cannons themselves don't need a fire control of a huge range. That will save us a lot of weight. Beam fire control. Obviously, we want to go max speed. But the actual range doesn't need to be large. It fires at 10,000 kilometers, so we can have 20,000 so that it doesn't have a damage drop-off. And provided we have that, we're fine. So we can go all the way to like a 40-ton, really. To give room for expansion, we'll maybe go for 50-ton. That way, if we get the range up a little bit, it would still help. Our range is actually 20,000, so yeah, this is fine. We'll go with this. So that is a K. That is a K. The mass is 50 tons. Like, this is saving us 350 tons per one of these, and I wanted at least 2. So this is a good saving. Again, not doing that laser thing. Not hedging our bets is very much saving us here. Laconia Electronic Systems, you are now in. Instant that. Refresh our techs. And then chuck in 2 of those. Now, both of those are going to have ECM. Well, ECCM. Just in case enemy missiles that come in are protected and have ECM to be able to try and avoid getting hit or whatever. I think that's probably worthwhile. Just a little bit extra hit chance. And that saved us a whole load of space. So, obviously, we only have the 2 quad gauze at the moment. We could add another gauze. That does get us pretty close to the limit. It might be worth having some sort of offensive weapon. Having an offensive weapon is probably a good idea. Just so that it can have a role in, you know, a non-missile pelted time. And that could well be just have the huge spinal weapon and that's it. Your job's a good one. The spinal weapon is pretty light on everything, really. It needs, you know, a fire control that can meet the speed of the vessel, and it needs a tiny little reactor. Other than that, so we'll give it a fire control that meets that requirement. And 5 power. There we go. Maintenance life's actually going up. What? Either way. We can then give it a couple of weapons to go with that. So they already will use the same fire control. Oh, I just added a load of fire controls. Whoops. We'll keep an extra fire control. Let's see how that works out. And then we'll add... Okay, that's over. So only 2 of them. We have the extra fire control. We need power for those. There's 2 of them. That's going to be 10 power. Power plant. Honestly, I'm just going to run 2 5 power plants. If one of them gets taken out, everything else can still run. We still have space. Like, is that enough to get armor? Not quite. Well, if we shave a little bit of ship, I think we have a little bit of room to play with. Oh, you know what we could do? Instead of doing that, we could add another ECCM if we needed it. Again, I don't think we do. We've actually got a full-on auxiliary, control, bridge, combat information center, and main engineering here. Like, this thing is actually pretty chock-a-packed. Like, it doesn't necessarily need all of this, but it's still pretty damn handy. Getting that extra armor would be good. What happens if we go down in armor? Do we get like enough room to be able to play with something? We'd give it one more weapon, but again, this isn't a primary, like an actual attacking craft. This is mostly defense. So getting that weapon is less important on you. We could give you an EM sensor. We could give you a proper actual sensor in your own right. That does not have a T at the end. That needs a T. Okay, we managed to get up to 11 armor. I just sacrificed a tiny bit of fuel and a tiny bit of maintenance. Maintenance life is still good. It has the 2 quad gauze cannons. They will get replaced in... It's probably going to be about 10 years until they get replaced. So that's reasonable. It still has 2 beam fire controls for each of them. It actually has 2 beam fire controls for its main weapons, which might be considered overkill. Like, maybe we can get rid of one of them. Here's 160 tons. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. We can fix this real quick. Okay. With getting rid of one of the beam fire controls, we actually had room for another electronic countermeasure. So now every single weapon is electronic countermeasured. And we just had to pay a tiny bit of fuel. And we're still above our 20 billion range. This destroyer, the Professor, is gonna be pretty handy. I'm debating whether it deserves Senior CO. What's the current? Knight Commander. You're a Knight Commander. What was the... What did we just make? We made our Ice Lord. Commodore. Yeah, that seems right. We don't need to tag Senior CO on it, otherwise it will pump it up to Commander... Commodore, sorry. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a Commodore. Knight Commander's fine for that. Okay, That is a pretty good vessel. Please, both of those. Now, I know this might have been a very long episode because military craft creation is long, and I don't know, some people might find it tedious because we haven't advanced time, some people don't. I'm actually interested to see what people think of it. Do you want me to just be like, here is the start of our creation, bam, here is the finished one, or do you want me to go through the process? I'm down to see what you think. Let me know in the comments. Next time, I think we will do the next 20,000 ton vessel, and then we'll start skipping ahead time until we have the tech to make our command vessel. But with that, we're going to do one very important thing before we close down, and that is we're going to go over to miscellaneous, and we're going to start naming you. We're going to let you be randomly selected, and G2, before I forget. We're going to let you be selected from... Ooh. Types of storm. That can't be a very large list. Dauntless class. I think this is a very short one as well. We'll try sword frigate. See how far that gets us. Commander priority. We're going to probably want to bump this to like 12, 14, 14? 14. Okay. So we now have the Professor. I'm actually going to mark the Hardy as obsolete. And our old... Where are you? Missile Destroyer. The Vash. I'm going to obsolete you as well. Okay. We're actually going to set them up to be built. I don't think there's any reason I'm waiting. So we're going to retool for the Ice Lord. That'll be retooled by September. Okay, great. And then you, who's never been assigned a class, retool Professor. And then you might as well start construction. Maybe we wait a little bit. Uranium's an issue. God damn it. Minerals! I've been EnterElysium. Hopefully you enjoyed. Get involved in the Discord. There's an election coming soon, and shenanigans are going to be afoot considering all the stuff we've discovered in nearby systems. Hopefully, if you've enjoyed and all that, you can go over there and there'll be like a announcement channel which will give you all my videos and stuff if that's of interest to you. But you can also like and subscribe the video as well. Until next time, stay shiny.